Haven't updated my social media in a while, and I thought I would share my not my lifelong journey, but my journey since I got serious back in May of 2013. Um, December 2012 is when my mom was diagnosed with cancer. It took a few months for it all to sink in and for me to realize, do studying, and know exactly where we were at, but I became convinced that the odds of my mom living much more than 5 years were very slim and that she was really going to need me. And just from the numerous trips that we've already made to UAB, and my mom, who had cancer and was weak, was just walking circles around me. I was a smoker. I weighed 408 pounds. My mom would stop. Like, there was these long. If you've ever been to UAB, there's these long crosswalks that go from one block to the other that crosses a street, and you'll have to go to another building. Like, you'd be walking forever, and in these certain hallways there will be like little couches and things you can sit on. And I can't tell you how many times my mom would have to sit down on a couch with me to rest. And so I made up my mind. I'm like, I got to lose weight. Like, I need to be able to take care of my mom and her not have to, you know her need to depend on me at some point, and me just be too damned out of shape and not be able to do anything. And so I kind of got serious. And so that would be this point right here. That was like May 2013. I know this says January, but it was not. It was May. So less than a year later, in January 2014, we had lost, I think it was 65 pounds, and that was right here. And I was feeling pretty good. Like, I was still big. Like, I was still 300 and whatever, 320 pounds or something, 330 pounds. But I was going to the track like 4 days a week. There's this track near my house, and I would go there early in the morning, and then sometimes I would go late in the evening, or alternate or whatever. And I'd gotten so cocky that I would actually attempt jogging. Now, for me, it looked like really fast walking, swinging your arms. But it was the fastest I'd moved in decades and decades and decades. And so it was jogging. Unfortunately, what happened is, due to just the massive amount of weight that I was carrying on my body, and this is why I tell people, if you're really obese, you don't need to be out there doing the most with running and jogging and stuff. I know these so-called, gurus will tell you that you got to go hard. I mean, it caused me to have an inguinal hernia. I didn't know what it was at the time. I just knew I had sharp shooting pain from my lower left abdomen down into my pelvic area, down into my scrotum. And it was unbelievable pain. I couldn't barely get out of a chair and move around, basically for days and days. And then that transferred into weeks. I just was in a recliner or in the bed, and it was immobilizing, and it was depressing, and my weight started going up. And then I finally got in to see a doctor, and he's like, "Well, I don't know. I think it might be a few things, but I'm going to send you to see a like, I don't know, my mind's a blank. Whatever the doctor is, it's just for the male anatomy. What's he called? I don't know. Anyway, I went to him, and he did the cough and hold and sneeze and imaging and all this stuff. And he goes, "You have an inguinal hernia." I researched the surgery. I researched ways to improve it naturally, and I just really didn't want to do the surgery. The health risks are doubled when you're as obese as I was. I was fearful of surgery. I knew that my mom needed me. I couldn't really take time off for surgery and to be down and do recovery and all this stuff. And so it was just depression. And during all that depression, we gained all this weight back till we were just short of 400 pounds. It finally, the pain and all that stuff got very minor, and I learned how to deal with things, and I learned how to not move a certain way and not to do a certain thing. And we got it where it was reasonably controlled, and I got back on track. And that's when I made the longest downward trend ever. And in September of this says 18, but it's 17. I put that wrong. 17. That's the year and month that my mom passed away, and that was the month that I hit my low, which was 280. Now, I'd set a goal for 250 because a man of my height, I think 250 is a reasonable. You can probably, it's like probably for sure not the healthiest I could be, but considering how healthy I'd ever been since high school, it would be the healthiest I'd been since like 11th grade. So that was the goal I set. So I was close. I was in like within like 30 pounds. I was like I think I would hit 282 was the lowest I hit. But I could do everything. I could move and go and do, and felt the best I'd felt in decades. And then my mom passed away, and then overwhelming grief and depression just kicked in. Now I maintained somewhere in this area here, between here and 310 or something for well into 2018. So again, remember this is September 2017 because I did the graphic wrong. So well into 2018, but I would say around, because I remember taking a trip out west. I bought this little RV, a Class B, and I was small enough I could get around in it really good. And those bathrooms in those Class Bs are tiny, and I didn't have a problem in it. It had a little tiny shower. I didn't have a problem in that. I made a trip out west. I know that was in like March or April of 2018, so I know I was still doing okay then. But at some point, it really kicked in, and this just upward trend continued. Now, I want to say that this peak here was COVID. I want to say that was like either late 2020 or early 2021 or something like that, where I was like, this is ridiculous. Something's got to give. We got to do better. And I remember me and my friend Amanda were doing phone calls and chats about how COVID was making us fat. And I started doing a reasonable amount of walking, not crazy walking, because I remember I still have this hernia problem, although I've really learned to control it really well. And so then, I kind of made some efforts down, then up, then down, and then I don't know, I just said screw it or something. And I know this right here was around a holiday. I remember it was something when it kicked in, and then we got all the way back up to here. In November of 2021, I was even bigger than I was when I started in 2013. In 2013, I think I was 408. And in November of 2021, I was 414 pounds. And that's when I said I'm going to throw everything at it. I had seen this therapist, this counselor a little bit in like 2020, and then edging into 2021, I started talking to her more. And we started working on some childhood trauma and some other trauma, which was causing a lot of this binge eating stuff. And I started getting a little bit of a control on that. And then I started thinking about all the things I'd done and all my progress in the past. And I'm like, you know what, you have one life to live. And you've proven to yourself that, trying to just set goals and lose weight in quick amount of times, you can do it. You've done it several times. Like I did it way over here. I did it again here. Like I could do that again. I could lose 80 pounds. I could lose, 120 pounds. I could do all that. But if history's any indication, it's all going to go right back up. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to make reasonable changes. And I'd done a lot of reading and studying and research, and protein had started becoming really important in my goal. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to jack the protein through the roof. We're going to keep the carbs low. I'm not going to do keto, but I'm going to keep the carbs low. Anything less than 100, I'm going to consider a success. And we're just not going to be too strict about it. I'm going to keep the protein really high. We're not going to eat more than once or twice a day. And we're just going to make very small changes. If I have a day where I want ice cream, I'm going to eat it, but I'm not going to let that be a string of days or a string of weeks. It'll be just like one thing. And it's a treat. We're going to start treating that things as treats. It's not cheat days. It's treat day. And I set a plan. I'm like, I wonder if I could lose 150 to 160 pounds over the next 5 years. And I'm like, if I can just lose 30 pounds a year, which I've done way more than that several times. And we should be slow, consistent, and steady. Those slow, consistent, steady changes will probably pay off. And so the journey began. And as you can see, it's been very, very consistent. Very consistent. We've lost, as of today, it's almost 107 pounds. Can I call it 107? It's like 106 point something, 106.6 or something. We lost like 107 pounds. there's a little blip right here. You can see just a slight blip here. That was holidays of 2023. So I went and stayed an entire winter at a beach. So from November to through the end of February, I lived on the beach in a hotel. And as you can see, I didn't do horrible. Like, I didn't gain a ton of weight, but the weight loss pretty much stopped, and then a little bit of a gain happened. And then I'm like, you know what? We got to get a control on this. We've come too far. We're being too consistent. And I got right back on the slow, steady track. And since then, it's been pretty smooth sailing through here. I have a long ways to go. As you can see, I'm right here. I need to be right here. We need to lose like another 55 pounds, 54 pounds. Let's call it 53, 55. Let's call it 55. We need to lose like 55 pounds. If I can do that in 2 more years, like lose 25 over the course of this year and 25 over that following year, I'd be so happy. Anyway, there's my weight loss progress. It's been a journey, man. It's been a journey from May of 2013 till now. That's 12 years. That's 12 years this May. 12 years this May. I believe that it's permanent this time. I believe that we're probably never going to be 400 pounds again, but I don't know. Like, you never know what's going to happen. I could break a leg. I could break a hip. I could become bedridden. I could become recliner ridden. I could, so many things can happen when you're older and you're big. That could I don't know that I would be able to survive during that. I don't really know if I could. I don't know if I would have the mental capacity to keep it up at that point. I'd be like, whatever. This is my lot in life. Screw it. So I don't know, but I think provided that I stay mobile, I don't injure myself, I don't have some kind of disease, I can avoid heart attacks and strokes, and I can avoid falling and breaking a hip, or any of the innumerable things that we all have to dodge as we get older and older. I feel confident at some point we'll hit the goal, but I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, there you go. Thought I'd share with you.